Hello and welcome back to the E Show, episode number 9. A little bit different spin this time. Once again, my name is Neil Ravin, Director of PR and Social Media, and for the first time all season we have some people other than a coach on the E Show this time, and it actually, for me, takes me back to last year's EHL Finals, of course, when it was the Philadelphia Little Flyers versus the Philadelphia Junior Flyers. And I got the chance to do the color commentary with Tom Willms and Joe Sindoni throughout the finals. Probably one of the best playoff series easily in the history of the EHL, and it compares with some up there across all leagues, and it was fun going on the air with them in between periods, and now we wanted to get a chance to do E-Show episode number 9, and we only have 2 microphones. I will preface with that right now, so we're going to alternate between the 2, so we'll start with Joe. So I'll bring in Joe, who now is, of course, the broadcaster for the Philadelphia Junior Flyers, and I got 3 questions for each of you, Joe and Tom, and Joe, we'll start with the Junior Flyers. Obviously, this is not this season has not gone as well as last season did when the team won the championship, but can you recap the year so far, and what positives you have seen from this year's group?
Well, first thing I want to say thanks for having me on here. It's an honor to see you guys again and be on the E-Show, so I appreciate you taking up the time and hanging out with us. For this year, for the Junior Flyers, as you mentioned, it is a little bit different. The youth process is a common thing that's brought up with the Junior Flyers, and I've seen it this year. We only brought back 2 guys with Drew Platt and Dennis Rupee sharing the captain and alternate captain duties, but again, there's a lot of youth with the Junior Flyers, and they are building. It's tough to see because you go online, you see the record, you see the scores, and it's not win like it was last year. And you have tough losses here, you have 1-goal losses here, and you have a blowout here. There's a lot of rookie mistakes, but youth is a big part of the Junior Flyers right now. They're trying to build, and 2 of our top 6 defensemen are 2000 birth years, and there's a lot of 98s, 99s. We have a very few 97s on this team, so the veteran leadership is there and trying their best, but overall the roster is very young.
And I'm going to ask you a similar question that I asked the head coach, Jerry Domish, a few weeks ago. Down the stretch here, is there a player that we should keep an eye on that you've got to watch, obviously more being the team's broadcaster?
I like Adrian Martinez. He's an import for us, doing really well this year. It's his first year with the Junior Flyers, but he's coming in, really shown well and played well in Jerry's system, and I think he's definitely a player to watch. And I also like our goaltender, Albin Mulich. I think he's doing a phenomenal job. His save percentage is still about a 9.1, 9.2, despite a tough year and a tough record with his team. But those are 2 players I would definitely look out for.
Now, switching gears away from the Junior Flyers, I live in Boston, of course, so I see the North Conference teams more often. I'll totally admit that, and those coaches let me know that, of course, as well. And you see the South Conference teams more often. It's been the Revolution at the top of the Mid-Atlantic Division for most of the season. The Rough Riders at the top of the Central. The Little Flyers have been there, almost the whole year as well. You've seen all the teams, though. Is there a team that fans should really be watching down the stretch here towards the playoffs?
I know you talk about, you see a lot of the Northern Conference teams, but I'm definitely intrigued by the Avalanche. It's their first year here, but I know Chris Sorrell is a veteran coach in the EHL, and he came back to coach that new club, and I'm definitely intrigued to see them this weekend and in the future. But for the South Conference, it's almost like born and bred to be the Revolution versus the Little Flyers somewhere in the playoffs, and I think that would be a really good series. That's another rivalry. They're not far apart either. The Revolution are about 45 minutes apart from the Little Flyers, and that would definitely be a really good series because both teams have a great mix of veterans with like Lewandowski and Ziggy Mraz, and of course Alex Oxtebeck for the Little Flyers, and then for the Revolution they have a lot of returners on their club as well. So it's certainly you get those friendly but bitter rivalries as well. So when that comes in the playoff, it certainly magnifies.
So I got to put you on the spot to wrap up your segment of this. And, of course, it's a different format this year for the playoffs. When all is said and done, there's going to be 2 teams from the South Conference that advance to Providence. Who will they be? That's coming for you too, Tom, at the end of yours.
Oh, man. Tom's here, so I better say the Little Flyers. I don't want to get in trouble here. But as I mentioned, I think it would really be fun to see the Revolution and the Little Flyers go at it. I think that would be a really fun series. And with the different playoff format, who knows what can happen when it's just one game. So it could be anybody's game at that point, and it would be really fun to see that matchup.
All right, well, thank you, Joe. We're going to switch the mic over now to Tom. Like I was saying, we only have 2 mics here, so I'd love to have us all 3 on at the same exact time. But we're going to bring Tom Willms in now for the next segment here of the E-Show. We're down here in Westchester, Pennsylvania for the fourth and final showcase of the season. One important note that I will bring up off of what Joe did just say. He talked about the New Hampshire Avalanche being a team to watch, and we're obviously recording this going into the weekend, and I actually just tweeted out a little stat on the Avalanche going into this weekend. They are a perfect 4-0-0 in the state of Pennsylvania this season. So we'll now bring in Tom Willms, though, who, of course, is the broadcaster for the Philadelphia Little Flyers. And, Tom, it's obviously been a little bit of a different season compared to the Junior Flyers. Little Flyers right there, where they seem to always be. 3 years in a row they've won the regular season championship. Maybe not this year. There's still some time left here in the season, but they are trailing the Revolution. What have you seen from this year's team that kind of compares back to previous teams?
Well, again, thanks for having me on, but we'll certainly say one thing that is it's typical for the Little Flyers and has been for the last bunch of years is their goaltending. They always have that two-headed monster. This year between Brendan Brawley and the resurgent Alex Henson. Certainly want to mention him. His first decision was a loss. He now has 10 straight wins as far as decisions are concerned. So very ridiculous. His numbers have, plummeted as they're supposed to, as far as the goals against average is concerned. Now a 182 coming over from the New York Apple Corps, and he has just stepped up and has helped guide the defense for this Little Flyer team.
2000 birth year, too.
Yes, the only 2000 birth year for the Little Flyers. Very, very veteran-laden. A bunch of guys back from last season. And there's definitely may not be showing right now in the regular season, but I think it's going to really kick in late in the regular season and into the playoffs, kind of a unfinished business situation, as it was very close last year. Either the Little Flyers or Junior Flyers could have won it. Junior Flyers ended up picking up the championship, but the Little Flyers 2 championship series appearances in a row, and I have a feeling those veteran guys have been around for a couple of years are pretty well primed for that playoff run.
Between the 2 series, too, you have 8 total playoff games, and half of them went to overtime. So, anything could happen when you go into overtime. And I'm glad that you brought up Alex Henson, because I've gotten to a point now with my weekly and monthly awards that I kind of look at his numbers first, because every weekend it looks like there's 2 wins and a shutout. But outside of Henson, looking at the rest of the roster, there are guys that we already have a commit from Cale Core. Are there other players that you are keeping your close eye on down the stretch here?
Typically in the EHL, it tends to feed NCAA Division III with a few guys going to D1, and I'm seeing Alex Ochterbeck. He's heading to D1. He's got to head to D1. 37 goals, and it's not even close as far as the rest of the team. I get Joey Salvo's right there with him, feeding all those pucks.
Yeah.
But Ochterbeck is the offensive engine that drives the Little Flyers. Not only does he lead in goals, he leads in points, power play goals, shorthanded goals, game-winning goals. So how Ochterbeck goes is how the Little Flyers go.
And the last time we got together as a league for a showcase, I'm looking at the historical stats of the EHL, and it hits me. I'm like, this kid's gonna break the single-season goal record in December.
Oh, yeah.
And he did.
Oh, yeah.
And where he finishes, we don't know, but it's been incredible to watch so far. So now shifting away from the Little Flyers, though, you've seen a few more of the South Conference teams than I have, of course. Are there some players that you're watching from other teams, or some teams that you're really keeping your eye on down the stretch here?
Well, you got to look at the Revolution, the way they came out of the gate this year. I wouldn't say completely unexpected, but you kind of thought, okay, this might be the Little Flyers year, knowing that the Junior Flyers were going to go with the youth movement. So the Little Flyers, here's their chance. Let's ride their way to the playoffs. Oh, wait a second. Here's this Revolution team in the left lane cruising past everybody. We kind of should have seen it, though, because they've been building steadily over the past 2-3 years. And I had the chance to see them twice in the last couple of weeks, once on the road and once at home. And they just are playing a really great team concept. They have some powerful scorers, great goaltending. They have everything it takes. Will it translate into the playoffs? I'm sure they're certainly hoping so. But we'll certainly see. They look like the team to beat here in the South.
And some teams also in the same division. Wilkes-Barre's won 6 straight going into this showcase weekend. So now I'm going to ask you the same final question that I asked Joe, with 2 teams emerging from the South Conference. You can say the Little Flyers. I will allow you to say that.
Okay.
Being the team's broadcaster, if you had to make a prediction, though, who would you pick?
Right now, I'm going Little Flyers Revolution. That's going to be the way it goes. It's going to go through the Revolution. They're probably going to get that first round bye. Again, Little Flyers have an outside shot, but they only play them one more time. It is at home, I believe, if I'm thinking about the schedule. But they're pretty far behind, and the Revolution have a couple of games in hand as well. So it's going to be tough. Revolution will have to stumble like they haven't stumbled all season.
Yep.
But Little Flyers have shown in their history last year that they can win tons of games in a row. So they could run the table and, who knows, shock everybody, including myself. And I just think that they are two trains heading towards each other, and the one that survives is heading to Providence.
Well, there you have it, folks. Both broadcasters are picking the Little Flyers and Revolution right now, but obviously a lot can happen here down the stretch. I really want to thank Joe and Tom for coming on the E-Show. This is episode number 9 once again. And now that we're going to be through all the showcases after this weekend, make sure you keep an eye on the Eastern Hockey League website. We're under 60 days until the Frozen Finals. I'm looking forward to it. So for all things EHL, make sure to log in to the easternhockeyleague.org. Thank you for listening.